I'm about to play you a clip that nobody was ever supposed to see. This is raw Neverland Ranch security footage from August 17, 1988, 2:47 a.m. The camera is pointed at the private dance studio inside the main house. Michael is in Japan on the Bad Tour. The room is empty, except for Bubbles. Watch the bottom left corner. He's wearing the tiny red Thriller jacket Michael had made for him. Billie Jean starts playing from the wall speakers. Someone forgot to turn the system off. And then Bubbles does the full moonwalk. Not a shuffle, not a cute imitation. A perfect gliding circle spin toe stand, side glide, exactly like Michael did it in Motown 25, but nobody had ever shown Bubbles that routine on purpose. He finishes with the hat tip that isn't even in the music video yet. Then he looks straight into the lens and does Michael's hee-hee, clear as day. I know, because I was the night security supervisor who found the tape. I still have chills 35 years later. My name is Leonard Lenny Ashford. Most people never knew my name, but I was there for two of the most impossible moments in Michael Jackson's life. The first one happened when he was 9 years old, barefoot on a nasty shag carpet in Gary, Indiana. The second one you just saw, a chimpanzee doing the moonwalk better than most professionals. And both times, genius refused to ask permission. Let's go back to 1968, 2300 Jackson Street, Gary, Indiana. Place smelled like burnt steel from the mills and collard greens on Sunday. I was 23, fresh out of the Navy, working as a junior tape ops at Steeltown Records, a tiny label running out of a converted barbershop on Broadway. One night, the phone rings. Man on the other end sounds like he chews gravel for breakfast. "This Joe Jackson. I got 5 boys that'll make your head spin. Bring your machine tomorrow, 7 p.m. sharp. Don't be late." Click. I show up with an Ampex 2-track reel-to-reel in the back of my raggedy Impala. The house is packed. Neighbors on the porch drinking Schlitz. Kids running everywhere. Inside, the living room carpet is this ugly brown shag, worn down to the padding in the middle from years of rehearsals. Bare bulbs swinging from the ceiling, one oscillating fan fighting a losing battle. Joe Jackson opens the door wearing a tank top and a scowl that could stop traffic. He doesn't say hello, just points to the corner. "Sit up there and don't touch nothing." The Jackson brothers file in, Marlon, Jermaine, Tito, Jackie, all looking sharp in matching vests. Then comes the little one, Michael, 9 years old, maybe 4'2" in socks, bare feet, afro so big it had his own zip code. He's holding a tambourine like it's a teddy bear. His eyes, man, those eyes were already 100 years old. I remember feeling straight up pity. Kid looked like a strong wind could blow him back to kindergarten. I'm thinking, Joe, leave this baby alone. Let him play Little League or something. Joe claps once, loud like a gunshot. Claire Ashford position. That was their code, meant line up like the Claire label acts they studied on TV. They launch into Kansas City. Tight, really tight. Better than half the groups I was recording. But it was still kids, you know? Impressive kids, but kids. Then Joe says, "Little man, show 'em what you got." Michael steps forward, bare feet sinking into that worn carpet. He's so small the microphone stand towers over him like a redwood. He has to stand on a phone book Joe slid over. I'm rolling tape, thinking this is gonna be cute. Maybe he'll hit a high note and we all clap. He closes his eyes. The room goes dead quiet. You could hear the ice melting in somebody's glass on the porch. And then he opens his mouth. He sings Smokey Robinson's "Who's Lovin' Ya?" Not the Motown version. The grown man, I've been cheated on, I've cried in the dark version. 90 seconds in, he hits the line, "When I had you, I treated you bad and wrong," and his voice cracks, not like a kid breaking, like a grown man whose heart actually shattered 20 years ago and never got put back together. My hand slipped off the record button. Tears just rolled down my face. I wasn't emotional. I was being rewired. Joe Jackson, the man who I swear never smiled once in his life, had his mouth open. One of the neighbors outside whispered, Jesus Christ just walked in here. When Michael finished, nobody clapped for good 5 seconds. We couldn't. We had just received a rapid, involuntary education in what genius looks like when it decides to show up early. I walked out of that house a different man. That 90-second performance rewrote my entire operating system. I quit Steeltown 6 months later, moved to Detroit, talked my way into Hitsville as a second engineer, and spent the next 30 years chasing that feeling again. Fast forward to 1987. I'm now head night engineer at Westlake Studio in Los Angeles. Thriller is already the biggest album ever. I get a call at 3 a.m. Michael wants you at Neverland tomorrow. Bring your ears. I pull up the long driveway, past the giraffes, past the Ferris wheel. Michael greets me himself, wearing pajamas and a surgical mask. He hugs me, full hug, and whispers, "Lenny from Gary, I remember you." I almost cried right there in the amusement park. That's when I met Bubbles.
Michael brought him into the studio like he was introducing royalty. Red jacket, tiny sneakers, sitting in the control room chair, spinning around. Michael said, "Bubbles hears everything. He knows when it's real." One night in '88, Michael was exhausted. He'd been working 16 hours straight on Leave Me Alone. He fell asleep on the couch in the dance studio. Bubbles refused to leave his side. I was doing my security rounds at 2 a.m. and checked the monitors. That's when I saw it, the footage you just watched. Bubbles waited until Michael was completely out, then walked to the center of the room. The automatic playback kicked in. Billie Jean, and Bubbles danced. Not monkey dancing, Michael dancing. Every step, every lean, every finger point. When the beat dropped out for the moonwalk section, Bubbles stopped, looked at sleeping Michael, and did it for him, like he was keeping the dream alive while his best friend rested. At the end, Bubbles walked over, gently put Michael's fedora on his own head, tilted it exactly like Mike did, looked straight into the security camera, and did the hee-hee. Then he curled up next to Michael and went to sleep. I sat there in the security booth crying like a damn baby because I finally understood the connection. Michael never had a childhood. He spent his whole life trying to get it back, building Neverland, collecting toys, adopting animals. But Bubbles got to be exactly what Michael couldn't be. A little kid who never had to grow up too fast, who could play, who could dance just because it felt good, who never needed permission to be magical. Michael saw himself in that chimpanzee, the pure joy he was forced to bury under perfectionism and pain. And Bubbles saw Michael as the father, brother, best friend he never had. Two beings who showed up on planet Earth operating on a completely different frequency and somehow found each other. That 90 seconds in Gary in 1968 created a ripple in my life that lasted 35 years. It took me from a skeptical kid with a tape machine to the control room of the biggest artist in history, and it put me in the exact right chair on the exact right night to witness a chimpanzee moonwalk for a sleeping king. Genius doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't care if you're 9 years old standing on a phone book in a steel mill town, or a 70-pound chimp wearing a Thriller jacket in an empty dance studio at 3 a.m. It just shows up, and if you're lucky enough to be in the room when it does, it rewires you forever. Hold on my face, quiet for 5 seconds. I never told this story publicly while Michael was alive. He asked me not to. Said some magic should stay between family. Bubbles was family. I guess now, so am I. The full unedited security tape is in the description. It drops tonight at midnight Pacific time. I'm releasing it because the world needs to be reminded what real magic looks like. And if you felt even one goosebump watching Bubbles dance, just imagine what it felt like to hear a barefoot 9-year-old from Gary, Indiana, sing the pain of a 40-year-old man and change the trajectory of every life in that room. That's the real untold legend. I'm Lenny Ashford. I was there for both miracles. and I'll never be the same. End screen. Subscribe, bell, link to the full Bubbles footage drop. Drop your favorite Michael memory below. I read every single one. Because some of us, we were lucky enough to see the impossible twice, and we owe it to him to keep telling the truth. See you in the comments. Love you more.